Hello and welcome to another edition of the show. Today's special guest is Mr. Christian Ortiz. I'm your host, Brian Mallard. We got Tim over there behind the console doing everything that he magically does back there, which I have no idea. We got him back on the show. We're very pleased to have Christian back again. He was on before. We focused on his photography. Now he's back into some music again, and this is great news for listeners as well as us on the show because we can have him back again. But before we go into that, I'd like to talk a little bit about, I found out that Christian is a fellow Star Wars fan. So tell me, what do you think about this new movie coming out, Rogue One?
Yeah, I'm super excited about it. I've got my kids at home, and my son, our 9-year-old, is about the most excited one about it. So the 9-year-old is...
There we go.
Hey, sorry about that, y'all.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, so I have my 9-year-old at home, and he and I are the biggest Star Wars nerds out there. So
nice.
Yeah, so we're looking at the trailers and looking at everything, just anticipating it. And I've been a huge Star Wars fan since I was a kid.
That's cool. I find this one really interesting too because it's the first Star Wars movie aside from that old holiday special from back in the late 70s that George Lucas don't want to talk about.
Right.
But this is basically the first Star Wars movie that's not, what we usually consider Star Wars. There's none of the main characters. It's like a side stream,
right?
Story,
which I think is the coolest thing ever. So
yeah.
It's a brave step that they're taking, but I think it's very necessary to fill in the gaps.
Yeah,
we have so many fans out there who are just don't know,
right?
The side stories, and I think it's Disney's smart.
Oh, man,
it's a genius step for them. So. But it's cool because it keeps us entertained, and we need more of that.
Yeah,
more than ever. So I'm never complaining about it.
Yeah, definitely not.
Yep.
More Star Wars, the better. And Disney's a very, very high-quality company.
For sure.
Now, on to Christian himself. Let's do a little recap of your origins there, Christian. Tell me again, where were you born? What did your parents do?
So I was born in Los Angeles, California in 1983, back in the day. My mom raised me and my brothers. She was a single mom of 3 boys. So we lived in Cali. We moved to Jersey during the riots of the 90s.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was the crazy times. And then we came down here following my oldest brother who got with who's now his wife. And so we've just been here, settled here. I've had my kids here, and this is now home. So. But with my music, I feel like I get to branch out anywhere I want to go.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Which is the coolest part about it.
Was your mom musical at all? What?
No, nothing. Singing in the kitchen kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But no, the brothers mainly all took on the talents. My middle brother, he's a superb artist.
Wow.
He's probably, and not because he's my brother, but he's one of the best artists I truly have ever met. And he worked at Marvel for a little bit when he was 18, and then he settled down and became a family man. So,
wow, yeah,
a lot of cool stuff that we try to do.
So, that at what point in your life did you think, hey, this sounds like something cool I'd like to do? Then like to take it take it on seriously, other than just like say singing in the kitchen.
The music part of
mm-hmm.
it. I started playing when I was 15, but not seriously. It wasn't until my son was 1 year old. And it was 2008, and I just started playing and really getting into music at this point in my life more than ever for some reason. And I just picked up my old guitars and I started playing. And my oldest brother introduced me to pedals, and that was it. And once I started playing with pedals, I was like, I think I want to do this full time, and it just progressed from there. But I took it seriously since day one, And so I think it just it made that much of a world of difference for what I was doing.
Right.
Of course I've got all the people, the naysayers, always talking, oh, you shouldn't do that, or your music stinks, or this and that, and it probably did, but I enjoyed it, and that's all that mattered. Right. And so I was mature enough to at that point in my life to know that it didn't matter what anybody thinks. It's what I love to do, and we were just doing it.
And you guys hear noises. This is my phone going off out here. So.
Added features from Facebook Live.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and as far as naysayers and criticizers and stuff, there's plenty of them out there, which gives you an idea as to their value. those
Right.
things that are plentiful are not really valuable.
You know what I found out about Christian ever since I met him is never ever go up and naysay anything he does, because it's like one day he's popping on, he's doing photography and he's successful at that, and then he's got his music and he's successful at that, and I'm just like sitting here, wow,
I appreciate it.
And like even his ads, like he's got a picture of himself with a long coat on, it's like a cape, and it's like, man, this guy has it down. He's not only good at what he's advertising, he's good at the advertising too.
And that was like last evening. I actually was actually fixing to go to sleep, and then I go up and he's got the picture that he popped up in his cape, and my own wife is sitting beside her, and what does she do? That is so cool. I'm like, okay, I appreciate it.
That is straight out of GQ, ladies and gentlemen. That was awesome.
Oh my gosh, you're killing me.
So, what do you write about?
My music is it's pretty deep. It's always been pretty deep. When I first started writing, I think it was all sad, mopey, crazy stuff, just because of all the things I was going through.
Right.
But over time, it was just sad, mopey stuff that other people were going through. So it just kind of went towards other people. But then it just started becoming a thing. I don't know. I write such different types of music. I don't like to fall under any specific genre. So you'll have heavy music, you'll have heavy rock, you'll have hip hop, you'll have acoustic, you have a blend of all of it, you have electric, I don't know. Just as many things as I can mix and as many different sounds as I can make.
Yeah.
Which kind of aggravates people too, because they want to hear a specific thing, but then it's going everywhere, and
right.
They start liking some things that I do, and then they're like, "What are you doing? Like that's not.
This isn't in the box.
That's not what you were doing. Yeah, it's not in the box. So I don't know. It's hard to develop a following. It really is, but. Again, you have those people who are just that open-minded, that they don't care. They're just like, it's music.
If it comes out of somebody and it sounds cool, then it is awesome. And I personally like somebody who does different things. Yeah, art. Mm-hmm. It's art, and you don't get bored if somebody's constantly doing something different.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little bit about your education on guitar and songwriting.
Oh Lord. So I taught myself how to play guitar. I never had a lesson. My drummer, Lee Pate, a good buddy of mine, he started showing me like actual chords and chord progressions a couple of years ago, and that was probably my first true interaction with chords. It was everything was either I was playing the chords, I just didn't know what they were called. I didn't know what I was doing, and it was just putting and I can remember it all in my head. So it's not like I have to write down what I'm doing. It's just. It's pattern memory, and that's what I'm really good with. So I'd be able to just memorize patterns and memorize where sounds were on my guitar and on any instrument. My keyboard's the same way, or piano. I play a little bit of drums. Of course, not the best by all means, but I can keep rhythm. So it was just. To me, it was a matter of feeling the music more than anything.
Right.
You can feel the rhythms, you can play to them, and that's what it was for me. It was more of an emotional experience rather than a series of patterns and movements. If that makes sense,
Well, it's interesting, and it kind of goes back to on the live there what Karen asked me about getting started in music. When I first started, I think it was kind of a similar thing because. Like I was far from educated on, I really didn't know what I was doing, and so I would just do stuff that sounded cool, and then I go back and listen. I'm like, that still stands up. It's like because it's like you said, you feel it out, and you can tell what doesn't belong and what does belong.
Exactly. When I first started producing, my buddy handed me I can't even remember. I think it was Cubase or some. Forget, I don't know. It was some off the wall little recording software. My buddy handed it to me, and I taught myself how to record and produce. And I had a little $6 microphone and a little cheap amp, and I just recorded everything open air and had no idea what I was doing, but I was putting the sounds into what I wanted and finding out how to do it that way. And my first recordings were they were so. To me, they were just great, but they were horrible when you look at it. In the sense of true production, they were crap. But but they were so good for me because it sounded right to me. And I listen to them now, and I just do that every now and again to inspire me of what I'm trying to get away from or how to better my product all the time. And I always pinpoint what needed to be worked on and what sounds the best and what was just absolutely horrible. But it's cool to look back on those things.
Yeah.
And they all meant something to me, which is important.
It's always cool to look back and see how far you've come and look back and, see where you started and all that. It's always, I think that's an important thing to look at your back trail every now and then.
Mm-hmm. Without a doubt.
I guess we're going to be coming up here shortly to a commercial. Before we do, I'd like to ask you a little bit about this guitar. Tell the folks what it does.
Yeah, so this is my brother gave me this guitar as a gift. It was from Squier. It's a Squier Strat. Not much special to a Squier brand, but it's the same as a Fender Strat. I have my buddy Richard. He runs kind of like a business. Luminous Arts is what he calls it. And
I've heard of that.
Yeah, and so he painted my guitar for me, a custom paint job. So it glows. It glows in the dark. It reacts to black light, and you can write on it, or it actually gets affected by purple laser pointers or laser beams. So
that's really unique. That's cool. Can you do me a favor? Hold it up a little bit so everybody can see it.
Sure. This is This is mine here. I mean, it sounds really sweet. These are custom pickups too. My drummer had a friend of his make these for me and try them out. And he was like, well, if they don't sound right, then just send them back and I'll tweak them. But I fell in love with the sound right off the bat. So it has a really, really unique sound that you won't find in your typical Strat.
Yeah,
which is really cool. So when I start playing shows again, because I am going to start playing shows again, thankfully, this is definitely going to be on stage with black lights and glow-in-the-dark shows, and we're going to make it a performance.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Visual and musical.
Yeah, I'm trying.
I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and bring up a commercial, and we'll be right back after this with Christian Ortiz.
Come join us every week for Open Mic Thursdays at Fountain City Coffee with your host, Brian Mallard. Registration begins at 6:30. Show runs from 7 to 10. Uptown Columbus, where the vibe is. Timeless beauty at the Gypsy Cherub, 3760 Woodruff Road, Columbus, Georgia. Class is back in style.
Hello and welcome back to the show. Special guest Christian Ortiz, and I'd like to start this off by saying two things. A, I have exactly this guitar, only mine doesn't glow in the dark or do laser pointer things. And B is the first two commercials you saw there, Tim made. Like to give a special shout out to Tim over there behind the console because he's really good at making commercials and little graphics and things like that. So you should hire him and pay him lots of money.
It's just called boredom, but I do appreciate it.
Guys,
I want to apologize. I'm not going to be on camera today because I look absolutely terrible. And I told Christian I was going to do this, but it is what it is. My wife's got something going on. And hey, I want to throw her a little plug here real quick. 5 o'clock, North Highland at the Real Life Center. Be all the way on the very end down there at the end of the church. Come down and see her. She has a recital for her students going on, and one of those happens to be, you get to see the debut of Miss D. Armstrong singing in Spanish. So
Nice.
That's awesome.
it would be something that if you don't have anything to do, go down for the entertainment value alone.
Very cool.
We wish Dee well. We wish
We
all
do.
those-
We do.
Yeah.
She's awesome.
D is awesome. So, Christian, let's go forth with what you plan to do, what you got currently going on.
So, as you may or may not know, I took a long break from music, starting back in 2014. Threw out my shoulder. I mean, it was I had so much going on. I had to stop playing. Back then, I was staying at a house where I was doing what I called art jams every week, and I had kind of like my in-house studio.
I remember that.
And we would have all these musicians and artists come by and do their art and do their music, and I totally missed that experience. It was something so cool. So my goal, my long-term goal, is to open up my own studio in a few years and have that in an official in an official place of business,
Right,
in town, where we're promoting all of this art and have a home for it. We can do open mics. We can do, it's going to be photography, art, and music is
Wow.
the goal, all in one little place. And I want to be able to produce music there. I want to be able to record music. I want to be able to just do a whole bunch of stuff. But as far as my music's concerned, I am getting back into it. I couldn't finish my album back in 2013. My goal was to finish it off in 2014. That was the Beast Coast Thriller. It was just
Nice,
the
I like
stupidest song, title of it. But it was never able to, I wasn't able to finish it with everything going on in my life. So now, after, 3 years, I get to finish the album, which I'm super excited about. I released 2 songs last month from the album, which you can find on my websites. I know Fenda asked earlier on Facebook Live, when is the music coming out? The 2 songs are out now. I have the rest of the songs that are probably going to be reproduced again. And so everything should be done by the end of the year or the beginning of 17,
Very cool.
which I'm excited about.
Right now, probably a good thing too. I actually was asking Christian earlier, and I wanted to make a graphic, but the graphic would have been too long. Tell us everywhere someone can go to see your social media footprint, and
Yes.
it is a long list, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, so get your pencil and paper out. No, I'm just kidding.
A lot of people.
No, it is a lot, but I try to focus mainly on all the major ones. First and foremost, Facebook is probably the best one to access all the music, the pictures, and everything. But if you wanted to look at the actual band statistically and in the music page, ReverbNation.com would be the best one. / Modest Roots Band. That's my biggest site. I also have SoundCloud with / Modest Roots. I'm on Twitter as just Modest Roots. It's at Modest Roots, or Yo Soy Modest Roots, I think is the name of that one. And I'm on Instagram, so for all the pictures stuff.
Very cool. So yeah, you got it pretty well covered.
Yeah.
What do you feel is the best venue for getting your music out there? Which one of those sites do you think is the best for an artist?
To be honest, it would probably be your personal Facebook.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Not even a page. It doesn't matter how many pages you have. You'll probably get more likes on your personal page just because people tend to engage with you in a personal level.
Right.
You know what I mean? Rather than a third-party page is what I call them. Pages are cool. They're necessary to have in the business, and social media law. If you're doing music and photography and art, you have to have a page for whatever you do. So because I have so many, I just share them on my personal page, and it gets all the traffic going.
Right.
So, but it's a job in itself for those who don't know.
Yeah.
So, when we take time to post our songs and make these videos and post our art and whatever it is that we do, it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of our time. And trying to reach out to everybody personally is like we used to do in the 90s, where we used to pass out flyers instead of, and it's the modern day flyer passing, really, is what it boils down to. So it takes a lot of work and a lot of your hours, but it's worth it if that's what you love and that's what you want to do.
Right. Mm-hmm. There's one thing I wanted to ask about. You said you couldn't finish your album because of things that were going on in your life, and it looks like you're going to be able to finish it now. Do you feel like, and I ask this because I've had some similar issues with my own stuff, do you feel like that there was any kind of benefit in the hiatus you had to take, as in, oh, well, here's something that I wouldn't have thought of if I had just been able to go all the way through?
Absolutely. That's a great question, and the answer is yes, absolutely. There's so much change that happens within a year's time, 2 years' time, and for me, I had complete life change. My daughter was born. I finally got out of the restaurant industry after 15 years.
Nice.
Scored a really, really great job doing what I do outside of work on a daily basis now. So, you learn a lot, and my music has definitely transformed. So it went from a hard rock sound back in 2013 to this experimental newness that I really can't define. I mean, and not everybody's going to like it. It's not your typical stuff. It never has been, but, I love it, and that's all that matters.
I love it. I have to say, I love experimental music that you cannot put your finger on.
Yeah.
I love genre-less stuff or things that you can't immediately identify with something, because I think that is so amazing.
I appreciate it.
Where would you like to take your music? Where would you like to see yourself in 20 years? So
I would love to be able to say that I have a bunch of albums under my belt, all different styles and genres, of all different types. I want to work with so many different people too, both famous and non-famous. I mean, like we talked about earlier, the talent in this city is ridiculous.
Oh yeah,
and I want to be able to work with them at one point or another, because you learn from so many people. It's from watching other people play, whether they think they're better than you or not. I tell everybody out there, it's not a competition. Music is not a competition by all means. It never will be. And those who think that music is a competition are the ones that never progress forward. And it's when you share everybody else's talents, I think, is what makes you a better musician. I want to work on a blues band. I've been talking to a couple of people now to start up probably a hardcore blues band locally. Maybe an alternative blues band at that. But
cool. Something
to focus on a specific genre, but modest. I have so many other projects too.
Right.
So I work on other bands, and I have other projects. Half Brother with my buddy Richard, who painted this guitar. He's also a rapper, and he produces.
Cool.
And then we have Sons of Pharaoh, which we were playing. We were getting ready to play, and then my shoulder went out, and life, and so that took a break, and now they're playing in, or at least the drummer went to the Bureau of Secrets and Lies, they're killing it right now locally. Nice. So it's good to see other people grow.
It is. It's very good.
I have to ask Christian, I'm sitting back here, it's being behind the board, so I get to play a lot when these guys are on camera, but is this the same guitar that you're holding?
That is the same guitar. Yep.
Oh, and was this colored like in Photoshop, or is this actually how it looks?
That's the way that looked in that picture for some reason with the lighting in the room. But
so, guys, we have to show you what you can see. You guys can see there's a whole lot more than we can, but
that's what it looks like in the dark.
Look at
sure.
It glows in the dark.
Yeah,
that is
awesome.
pretty cool.
Yeah,
that little neon green type thing.
It is super neon. Yep, and I'm excited. I can't wait to play it on live. I just want to see people's reactions when they see what it's going to take them a minute to realize what's going on with it, because it's not your traditional glow effect.
Right.
And when they see that it's controlled by lighting, and they're going to be like, what? And it's awesome.
That's awesome.
I'm hoping there are other famous musicians now that do it too. They have glow, but it's different. They're put together differently. Nobody has a glow in the dark paint job that reacts to light, which is insane.
The purple laser pointer is what gets me. You can write stuff on it.
Well, everybody's going to get one in the show, and they're going to be able to draw on my guitar.
Nice.
Yeah, it's going to be.
I love it.
It's going to be insane.
Well, Tim, you want to bring up another commercial, and we'll come back right after this thing rolls? I love it, just like springing it on Tim, and he's like, "Hey man, you didn't give me any warning."
We'll be right back, guys.
Hello, I'm Catherine Childry with Let's Vocalize. For over 35 years, I've coached vocalists and groups privately. I also perform vocal workshops training choirs. I'd love the opportunity to show you how direction, discipline, vocal health care, and regular practice can drastically improve you, your group, or your choir's performance. Call me at 706-536-6123 or visit us online at www.letsvocalize.com. I'd love to help you offer your best gift.
Yes, Toddy, the chocolate malt in a can.
It's so good hot. It's so good cold.
It hits the spot with young and old.
Yes, Toddy pleases everybody. Delicious chocolate malted toddy, made with rich, real milk, not powdered milk.
So come and get it, everybody. It's time to drink your chocolate toddy.
Delicious.
Hello and welcome back to the show with special guest Christian Ortiz. We have some people asking questions here on Facebook Live, which is really cool. Karen asked something. Would you like to answer that, Christian?
Yeah, so Karen asked if I ever include bluegrass in my experiments. And she's right. She says there's never enough folk or bluegrass, and I completely agree with that. Actually, I was talking to my son the other day, and I was introducing him to all these folk bands and bluegrass bands because it's such an important part of music history, and I think to include that would be kind of genius, actually. One of my new songs that I came up, I actually incorporated some Indian guitar and some different sounds from all around the world, and that's kind of where I want to go. So bluegrass would probably be a great idea. Kenny, hi Kenny. He says y'all do Mustang Sally. Oh my gosh,
I love you guys. Catherine Clay?
Sorry, Kenny, we're not doing requests today because Christian has actually contacted me yesterday. He said, I have a cold, so I can't perform this weekend.
I was being a whiny baby.
We'll get him back on.
My voice is not working this week. And Catherine says hi. Hi, Catherine.
Hi, Catherine. This is actually a well thought out scheme to force you to go and actually look at his music.
Hi, Catherine.
Hi, Catherine.
That's actually me playing the stream, guys. So let me turn that off.
There's an echo.
So, whatchamacallit, do you find it difficult juggling everything that you do? Because I know that I do a lot of things too, and you go from one thing to another, and you have to shift gears to get back into this thing, and then shift gears to get back into this thing. Do you have difficulty with that?
I did for a long time, and I had to learn how to prioritize, and which really, to me, everything I do is a priority. Which that's where the problem comes in.
Right.
You find importance in everything that you do, so it's hard to say, okay, well, I want to work on this, I want to work on that. The good thing about me is that I get so tired of what I do so easily that I can resort to something else. And not because I don't like it, it's just my brain is wired differently, I guess. Yeah. And sometimes I'm just like, I don't want to deal with or fool with producing music today, so I'm going to draw. Or I don't like to do that, so I'm going to do photography. But I got to a point where everything started, at one point, a long time ago, started becoming a job. I had to do it, and I started not liking it. So I had to take a step back and reassess of everything that I'm doing, and just make time for what it is truly that I love to do. And that was the hardest thing I think I've had to do in a long time, but it paid off, I think.
That's cool. That's very good. What advice would you give to aspiring artists? Aspiring multitaskers.
Multitaskers, yeah. Forget sleep. It's just the reality of it. You're gonna lose a lot of sleep. You're going to need to make time for a lot of things that you do. And if it really is that important to you, you'll sleep when it's all done. And that's not the healthiest advice, and I know that sounds kind of silly to a lot of people, but the fact of the matter is we have jobs that pay the bills, and then we have jobs that don't. And the jobs that don't are what we love the most. And so we have to make time for those things, and there are going to come points where you're not going to sleep because you're just focused on what you're doing. But it's work in one sense or another. It's always going to be work. You're going to have to push and push and push and not give up. And truly, do you know how big of a percentage there are people out there that stop doing what they love because of naysayers and people who tear them down? And it's unbelievable.
I'm sure
there's a lot of people who talk to me, I mean, day in and day out, who are like, or I'll ask them, hey, what happened to this project? Now, it's, so-and-so said such and such. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I'm like, there's a lot of it. And that's just the business. I mean, that's everywhere. It doesn't matter where you go. The beautiful thing about it is you have to remember that there's always going to be a larger, or there are always a group of people out there that will love what you do, no matter what. Mm-hmm. And that's just a fact.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and that's what I had to remind myself of for years, because it's hard to come up with something that's popular, and then you have to ask yourself, well, do I want something that's popular? Yeah, because that's the point, right? Right. But at the same time, it's there's so many people out there that have so many different likes and so many different tastes, and they're out there. Your supporters are out there. So my advice is don't stop. Just keep doing what you do. Love what you do every day, and no matter what. And it's about who you invite to in your life. If you allow those people in your life to keep bashing you, why are you keeping them around?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You don't owe anybody anything. So it's about supporting those who support you. And I mean, it's not a selfish thing because you're still supporting. It's just you have to keep focused on who you allow around you, I think.
And the thing about naysayers and critics is there will always be plenty of those, and there are some people who live just for that. Mm-hmm. And you really can't listen to that stuff. You just have to keep going. Opinions are like elbows. Almost everybody's got one.
He's phrasing that in a very, very nice way, guys.
That's very true. But it's very, very true.
The battering rams are the ones who succeed. You just got to keep going.
You do. And it gets frustrating, and sometimes it's enough for people to truly just completely give up. And it's just sad. It's a sad, sad thing to watch. So I just encourage people to just keep doing whatever they're doing. If it's positive, if you're creating something positive, it's a wonderful thing, then keep doing it because you're not hurting anybody.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you're creating and inspiring more than you know.
And what's really fun for me is I've actually found out since we started the podcast you guys are watching. We started it back, what was it, in January?
I guess. I lost track. I can't remember last week.
Oh, you have to watch those early shows. I mean, you still see it. But, we talk about it even now, that the fact that, you see this terrible mistake that was made or whatever. But, you go on, and it's all been a learning experience.
That's all it is.
And I really wouldn't trade it for anything.
Exactly.
We're nowhere near where we want to be, but we're
then
a lot better than we were a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, and when you reach the point where you can't learn anything else and where you can't progress any farther, then what's the point? Mm-hmm. You have to, it's always good to have unexplored territory. You have to.
I agree. It's always a growing. There's always growth.
Yeah, exactly.
And and we've talked about it many times with the advent. Actually, right now we have our cameras going and we're filming the. Brian's actually looking at something, but we are filming the podcast right now. But at the same time, we have a telephone, which we have in a tripod going, and it's going on Facebook Live. And we just found out how easy it is to create art these days.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
We have tools that have never existed before. We have opportunities that have never. The people before us did not have access. Me back in the 80s, 90s, I'd love to have done some stuff. I would love to have had just half the stuff that we have now. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. And, I want to say one more thing, and then I'll kind of fade off back in the distance here. But I'm going to give this a chance for Brian. I know that he is actually starting a second podcast, or I should say show or whatever, broadcast with a relative of his, and he'll be going up there after after the show. But we want to wish him well. He's still going to be here.
Oh, yeah.
And we're still going to go forward with the show. But I've just gotten to the point where basically I don't look at people as competition anymore. I just look at it like, you know what, he's adding something to it.
Yeah.
I wish him well. And, then one day, hey, he can learn something from me. I can learn something from him. I can take from this pot. I can take from that pot. Makes everyone better. And
Exactly.
I would rather focus my time there than, oh, my goodness, I thought I would never say this. Things like elections and just terrible things. But, we kind of want to push that. And that's the last thing I wanted to say for today. But we'll just let you guys go ahead and wrap up your interview.
Right on. Well, Christian Ortiz, it's great to have you on again.
Thanks
I'm
for
so
having
thankful.
me.
Do you have
Absolutely.
anything else? Anything that you'd like to share with the people that I have not asked?
All I ask is that everybody who's creating out there, don't stop. Please don't stop creating. Do what you love, and just don't stop doing it. I love it, and I will support you no matter what you do. So at least you have one supporter right here, if that means anything. So.
Right on. Christian Ortiz, everybody. Tim Childry behind the computers back there.
Yeah, I was looking at this picture with a cape
Thanks,
that everyone
Tim.
loved.
Show it.
You
Show
wanna
it.
put it- you wanna put it
Awesome.
up? You
I
put it up?
love that picture.
And my wife was just like, you look so cool.
I was like that too.
Yeah, but it's different when, I'm going, okay, you have a good night. Matter of fact, there she is, first thing. Too cool. Well, I'll pay for that one. I'll see her later. But,
Oh my gosh, thank you. That was awesome.
Well, I hope you have enjoyed this edition of the show with Christian Ortiz. I'm your host, Brian Mallard, every Sunday for the show.
guys, have a great weekend.
Take care, everybody.